Tessa from Mama's Geeky here, and welcome to the Mama's Geeky Show. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Mama's Geeky Show. Today is a little bit different because I have an interview for you guys. You guys probably know last week I shared my interview with Blues Clues host Josh Dela Cruz. He is the new Blues Clues and You host. It's a tongue twister. Blues Clues and You, Josh Dela Cruz, blah, 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 blah. It's a tongue twister. But anyway, that was last week, so if you missed that, be sure to check it out. But this week, I talked to the director and the star and the on-set animal trainer for Think Like a Dog. Think Like a Dog is out today on digital and Blu-ray and DVD. My kids love this movie. We've watched it. I can't even tell you how many times they've watched this thing. There's fart jokes. Let's put it that way. There's fart jokes, so kids are going to love it. Okay? And if you have a dog and you've ever had to deal with dog farts, you know they smell. But Think Like a Dog is out today, and I got to interview the director, Gil, and the star. He plays Oliver. His name is Gabriel, and he is so talented. You've probably seen him in some horror flicks, but this is obviously not one of those. Think Like a Dog. It is a family fun movie. Out today. Did I already say that? Out today? Out today. Plus, there is a dog in this movie. It's Gabriel's co-stars. His name is Henry in the movie and Think Like a Dog. However, of course, usually as animals are, they are played by several different animals. But I will let Sarah, the animal trainer, tell you all about that. So here's my interview. Check it out.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Hi.
So I was wondering what made you to want to do this movie, and what is it that you would like your audience goers to learn when they finish watching the movie? What is the takeaway?
Who is that question for? Both of us?
To all of you. If I can get it from all of you, or just one.
Go ahead, Gabriel.
All right. I'll answer like the.
Perfect. You were wonderful, by the way. My son and I watched the movie, and he absolutely loved you. You were wonderful.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you, honestly. As far as like why I wanted to film it after reading the script, what really spoke to me, was just I liked the message of how powerful and important appreciating the simple things and actually like thinking like a dog, which is the huge message of the film, is just appreciating the people around you and all the things that you take for granted, and just all the people that you love and really giving back to them. And that was really what spoke to me the most when I read the script, was that message, which was a really big part of why I wanted to film it. And then also, I really just like the dynamic between Oliver and the dog, and I thought Oliver was a really fun character. And I love the whole family dynamic. I don't think most of you watched it yet, but when you watch it, the family dynamic is really, really heartwarming and believable. So that's why I wanted to film it.
Thank you.
For me, well, since I wrote it, the message, it's a different thing than Gabe. But I'm glad that he responded to the script the way he did, because I wrote this script, not to be a downer, but I wrote this when I knew I was going to get divorced. I believed I was going to get divorced. And I had two young kids, 8 and 11. I was very concerned about what was going to happen to them. Are they going to be okay? And during this time, I actually found myself being comforted by my dog a lot. I'm not joking. I'd be in bed and I'd be nervous, and what do I do? And should I leave? Do I wait till they go to college? A lot of parents have these unfortunate dilemmas. And I realized there was, my dog is always happy. He's just always happy. And so I wanted to, I realized, wow, I thought to myself, I wish I could be like that. Like, how does he do that? And then, you know, it's obvious. The dog, to me, is very much like a baby, in that all babies want to do is love and be loved. That's it. And so that's sort of the message of the film, you know, if there is a takeaway, which is, you know, let's stop overcomplicating our lives and having all of these messages that, you know, kind of deflect what is really in front of you, you know, because of your upbringing or whatever. Just appreciate the simple things, and so many problems will dissipate. I truly believe it. So, and yeah, I think we captured that. I was not to embarrass Gabe, but you know, we were very close to shooting. I think I was like 3 weeks out without the lead, without Gabe, without the boy. And Andrew Lazar and I had read, oh my God, hundreds. And Gabe came to my house actually and read for Andrew and I, and within 45 seconds, I think I had tears in my eyes, because I realized I found an extraordinary talent that would elevate the quality of my film, and my instincts were right. He killed it. He killed it. He's so talented.
Thank you.
It's true.
The movie is amazing. It's filled with love, and I can't say enough about it. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Oh my God, of course.
Next up, we have Melissa Northway. You can unmute yourself. You're still on. Okay. There you go.
Hello.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, Gil. I was wondering where you got, what inspired you to write the film, because if any, pet owner, we all adore our pets, especially dog owners. And I've always wondered, what's he thinking, right?
Me too.
Yeah, so I'm glad he gave you a lot of comfort during that tough time.
Yeah.
Definitely appreciate that. But I guess same question for both of you. What would you say was your favorite day on the set, and why? And either one can start.
Wow.
Was it a moment in the movie?
Well, I think for me, at least, I'll go, I guess. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think there were two outstanding moments that came to mind. When we shot the scene where Gabriel came downstairs and confronted his parents. Jesus, I'm almost emotional now. And he came down the stairs and confronted his parents whether or not dad was moving and are you guys getting divorced. Wow. That to me, that was, I always felt was the most emotional scene in the film, and probably one of the most important scenes for Gabriel's character, because that is the scene where, I hate to sound manipulative, but I really wanted Gabriel to break the audience's heart, which would then become what they call in film writing the rooting element. And the rooting element is, why are you rooting for a character? Why are you willing to watch this movie and for 90 minutes or whatever it is? And I knew that if we did a good job in that scene, then the audience would be willing to go along for the ride. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I can honestly say, yeah, I was totally crying on set. I wrote the damn thing and had no idea it could be that powerful. I was just stunned by everyone's performance, but in particular, Gabriel's, because to achieve that much emotional depth at his age, when he was like 13 or whatever it was, that's extraordinary. That's why there's like 2 amazing breakout child actors in the world. You know, Natalie Portman was one of them way back in the day, and I don't even know who else. But it's a tremendous accomplishment for a person as young as that.
Right.
And so that was, I couldn't have been happier that day, even though I was crying.
Aw.
Well, I mean, you know, it's like, I don't know if you ever saw 10 Things I Hate About You, but there was a speech that Julia Stiles gave, the 10 Things I Hate About You speech. It was very similar to me. It was just like, oh my God, I am looking at greatness, you know, and that for a director, I don't know if there's a better high than that.
Right.
And then the other thing that just popped into my head for your question is when I was, I had hiked 2 hours for 2 hours in 97-degree heat with an entire 100-man and women film crew hiking into the Great Wall of China. And we finally, everyone is soaked. I don't mean like, you know, the ring you see. I mean, everyone was drenched and it was exhausting. And then the next thing I know, we're getting ready to shoot, and I'm flying 2 drones, and I'm directing a movie that I wrote. My son is standing next to me on the Great Wall of China. There's a crew of 100, and I'm shooting this movie because I had an idea 3 years ago, and I'm on the Great Wall of China. It was, that was pretty cool.
That is very cool.
Oh, man. And because they gave us so much freedom where we could shoot, interestingly, because the one of the co-financiers of the movie, his dad was a general in the Chinese army.
Oh my God.
And it was like we were royalty. So that to me was also, that's one of the joys that movie making, if you're lucky enough to be working in movies, you can, you know, not only do you get to travel, but standing on the Great Wall, 2 drones and 100 people looking at me, didn't speak a word of English. That was pretty awesome.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing
That's
that.
me.
For me, I also have like 2 days that come to mind. The first day was one of my favorites just because like meeting everyone on set, meeting all the crew. I had already met Gail and some of the producers, but meeting JC and getting to bond with her and try to build chemistry, not just with JC or the dog, but also with like all of my other castmates and my parents, is always a really special thing when you're first starting a film to bond with people. So that looking back, especially once you're done with something, looking back to the first day is always kind of nostalgic. So that one. And then also the last day when I wrapped, everyone, I don't know whose idea it was, but there was a plan that had been set up for a while from one of the crew members where they blindfolded me and they like led me to a different part of the set. And I had no idea what was going to happen. And then I think it was like a crew of almost 200, 300 people. And when they pulled off the blindfold, everyone had silly string and just like laughed at me for like 30 minutes probably of just like straight silly string, which was insane. It was like by far, it was I didn't know there could be that much silly string in like one place. But probably those.
Estimate to how much the crew loved you.
That's so great. That's like a great birthday party idea.
Yeah, I had
really
never
got him.
Got it. Yeah, it was. I have a video of it. It was like by far, I think, my favorite wrap day.
Oh my gosh, that's fabulous. That's a great idea. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
Donna Borowski.
First off, thank you. Loved watching the movie. I just got a new rescue dog, so it was fun to see the tricks because we're working on that. So I appreciated hearing all that as well. We know dogs are unpredictable, and even the best trained dogs get a little crazy sometimes. So my question for either one of you, both of you, is did you get any inspiration while you were filming that changed things up? So you had maybe some improvisation from the dog that actually made it into the movie, something that maybe would like happened while you were filming. If oh my gosh, I need to leave that in.
That's a good question. It's interesting. Just thinking back, obviously most of the things that you do with a dog on set, they're really well planned out, and they have to be, and they're planned out a month or two in advance, and then Sarah would send me videos. Here's what I'm thinking, and here's how, like the bit. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of any of the bits. Then she would bring the dog to set, and then she would show me, how it works. And kind of just because the dogs, they need to learn that pattern, because if he's not performing, it's a lot of money if we're waiting around, for a trainer to calm a dog down. And, another phenomenal advantage of using Sarah was, I don't think we ever waited for the dog to settle down. And, it's $100,000 a day, if not more. So if you lose 2 hours on set with a crying baby or a dog, it's a lot of money. I think the only bit we came up with that I hadn't planned, and I think it wasn't something the dog did, it was something that I thought, Jesus, this dog is so responsive. I wonder if he could do this. And we had the dog pull the carpet out from one of the actors and cause the actor to fall. That was, I think, worked really well. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I can't think of anything else.
Don't be sorry. That was great.
Well, it's so you don't have the time to go, oh yeah. Now, did I realize, while shooting, oh my God, I can get Henry to do this a ton. And a lot of that had to do with Henry or whatever dog we were using, but primarily JC, working with eye contact. Because when I realized that he could really look right at that lens and for a long period of time, oh my God, I would immediately adjust shooting, because especially in this scene, I don't know if you remember it, when Henry jumps onto the bed and explains the plan, to basically how to make mom and dad, they've lost the sense of love, and it's because they forgot who they were, and we got to bring them back to that when all we had was each other, and blah, blah, blah. And we have to teach mom and dad how to think like a dog. When I realized I had the ability with this particular dog to look literally right in the lens, right? So I changed my shot pattern so that then Gabriel was looking right into the lens. And I am telling you, it's such a powerful connection because they're both looking right at each other. And I've never been able to do that with an animal before. And by animal, I mean Gabe. That's it for me. What do you think, Gabe? Were there things that like came up impromptu? I can't quite remember.
I don't know. I agree with you. I think it's kind of a testament just to how well behaved and how great JC was, and that speaks to Sarah and all the other trainers. But I can't really think of like anything that happened on set, but specifically with the dogs that wasn't planned. I guess just like there were probably little things like in the scene in the very last scene, he's kind of jumping up and down.
Oh yeah,
and, like,
that was cool.
On all of us, and a lot of that wasn't like planned necessarily. It was just kind of like letting us play with the dog and letting him run wild and jump around. So I guess that's kind of like the only thing that comes to mind. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, thank you both so much. Very much enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I'm so glad. Thank you.
I have to change our order around real quick. So Vina, you're up next.
Hi, this question is for Gabe. I was just wondering, what was the best part about having a dog as your co-star?
I don't know. There were a lot of benefits. For one, it's really like just lifts your spirits to always have something that it feels like you're communicating with it a lot, even though you're probably on like a lesser scale than you would think. But it just feels like she was always excited to be around people and be on set, and kind of that influenced me to just be happy to go to set every day and like be happy to work. So that was really, really beneficial. I've worked with dogs a few times before, and this one was different. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it, just because she was so sweet, and I genuinely felt like I had a connection to her, like she was my own dog. It was it was just a lot of fun to have that much positive energy to be around all the time.
I love it. Do you have your own dog?
I don't right now. I grew up with like 5 dogs, I think, but I don't currently. I have a cat, but I grew up around dogs. I love dogs.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Vina. Lynette?
Hi. I want to share that my son and I watched the movie and he loves it. He's ready to see it again and again, so that's always a good sign. So thank you for this family film. I know that Sarah shared that Henry is really a girl. So are there any other fun facts that you can share about the film that maybe the audience doesn't know?
The Gil was harder to work with than JC. No.
Did I stump you guys?
It was pretty funny. The first week of shooting, we shot at the house, and it was on a street in New Orleans, and every day, all day, even into the night, there would be about 20 of the neighbors sitting in the front yard right across from us, and they would all have little tables, and they'd bring out their lounge chairs. I'm not joking. And they would all be drinking wine, watching the movie be made all day long, 20 of them. It was like so wild to me. It was really cool, but they were so fascinated. But it wasn't one day. It was every day. And it was so Southern, it was like the Southern women with the wine and the thing and all dressed up. And I'm like, oh, wow. That's the only thing I can really think of, offhand that would be intriguing for an audience to know. If you can shoot me your email address, I'll think on that and I'll shoot you an answer.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Can you, should I just give it to you?
I'm sure Nikki will take care of it.
Fine. Yeah, but you're more than welcome to shoot me an email, and I'm happy to answer your question.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Thank you for the film.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lynette. Amanda Taylor.
Hello, everybody. I'm Amanda from Guide from Mom's Crazy Mandy Reacts on YouTube. Subscribe. And my question is for Gil over there. So we've seen movies like this before, right? Like you can listen, you can hear your dog talk, or you know what babies are saying, or even read the minds of people. But usually it's like with kind of a magical or mystical thing that happens to do that, to make that happen. But in this film, it's like real science-based, which I love because I'm a science nerd, And what I wanted to say, one of my favorite lines in there was when I even wrote it down, I'm going to crush you like Edison did Tesla. I was dying. But I wanted to know why you took on, made this such a scientific type movie, science-based.
That's a good question. I actually believe, I used to think in my lifetime, but maybe not now, but in Gabe's lifetime. But I've always believed, even when I was a kid, that within my lifetime, we'll be able to read other people's minds electronically. And I just think that's fascinating. I think the concept of that potential technology being in the future, whoa, it brings up a lot of possibilities and a lot of dangers, actually. And I wanted the movie to be realistic. I didn't want it to be some kid movie with a talking dog. And as I'm sure you saw in the film, the parents, they had very real roles. They weren't like the old people upstairs. You know what I mean? And when I was doing the research for the film, I was trying to just get words that made sense. So I was writing up thought transference and looking up thought transference and analog sound to digital energy, blah, blah, blah. And I came across an interview with a scientist, I think it was in 1862 or 3 or something. And the scientist was doing, in 1860 something, the exact experiment that I did in the movie. And that scientist, because he believed that you could, in fact, if you had a sensor sensitive enough to read the electrical current and then amplify it, in theory, it should work. That wacky scientist was Alexander Graham Bell. He was literally working on this thought transference as early as 62. And when I read the article, first of all, I was stunned. But he said, if you apply the laws of electricity to the human brain, and electrical thoughts are electricity, if you apply those laws, you should in fact be able to amplify those laws. And that's pretty cool. So anyway, that's why.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll wrap it up because I know there's a lot of questions after me, but I love the
Thank you,
movie.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Amanda. Carrie Yablowski?
You got me as soon as the kids come downstairs to interrupt, of course.
As it always.
Without fail. So my questions for Gil, there have been so many great questions so far, but is that Skittles there on the couch with you?
Oh, you see him? Oh, there he is, yeah.
So, since Skittles was such an inspiration for the film, what does Skittles think of the film?
He liked it. He felt that his performance was actually, it's funny, during the editing process, of course, I would take the cut and I'd watch it at home, and I'd watch it at home with my kids because they gave me good feedback. And I am telling you, Skittles would sit, I'm not joking, in the middle of the floor watching that TV. And whenever one of the dogs came on the screen, he would walk right up to the TV and stare at the dog. It was awesome. I actually have video of him doing that. I mean, he knew that was a dog on screen, and it was like watching. So yes, Skittles enjoyed the film.
It's important,
Yeah, he wanted more close-ups, but yeah.
And then my other question is for Gabe. And it's, what was your favorite part about being Oliver?
So I really liked the science aspect, actually, of his character, because I've never played a character that was that interested in science, let alone like an inventor. So it was really fun to like mess around with ideas and be able to like talk about fake inventions that he made, especially the main invention that kind of goes wrong and like leads to the whole premise of the film. But that was just really fun to be able to play around with and mess with, because I've never actually got to do that before. And I'm like, I wouldn't say I'm interested in science because I don't know that much about it, but the little that I do know, I've always found really fascinating. So that was probably one of my favorite parts.
That's great. Thank you.
Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you.
Next up, Patty Holiday.
Hey guys, how are you? I have a question about your co-stars. You guys had a lot of great people in this film, but what I want to know is who out of everybody on set with you kind of embraced that think like a dog mentality. And it's okay if it's you can say that, it's allowed, but I'm just kind of curious who's already living their life that way. Like who would you point out and say they've got this figured out?
Gabe?
Is that your answer, or are you giving it to me?
No. I'm throwing it to you.
Oh, okay. You know, I don't know. I kind of Josh. I think Josh Duhamel. If
That
out
was
of
my
everyone,
answer too.
Yeah.
I would say Josh. Yeah, he is really positive, and I feel like he has a good mentality. We had a lot of conversations, and I would say out of everyone, it's that definitely Josh.
Awesome.
I would say the same. I would say Josh as well. And just personally, it's how I am trying to learn to live my life. I have personally done a lot of work on myself spiritually. I know that sounds corny to some, but my comfort level at the age of 65 is I'm a different man than I was 5 years ago. And boy, do I enjoy it.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Who cleans your damn kitchen, by the way?
Isn't
Jesus.
that gorgeous? It's stunning, isn't it?
It's beautiful.
It's a Zoom background.
What?
It's a Zoom background.
Yeah,
Oh, you're kidding. I thought that was your kitchen. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, no. I'm hiding the hot mess. That's reality.
That's funny. Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's
I
cute.
want to do that next time.
All right, next up we have our junior reporter, Linda Lee Rose.
Hi.
I
I loved the movie so much. I was crying for a lot of it because it was happy tears and then like sad tears. It was just incredible, and I loved it so much. Good job. So I have a question for Gabe. So you said that you had such a strong bond with Henry, and so on the last day of filming, what was the experience like having to say goodbye to all the cast, but also having to say goodbye to Henry?
Well, it's always really hard when you have to say goodbye to everyone on set, because like at the end of it, you're really a family because you're working together. But especially if it's a taxing film, like this one was kind of emotionally taxing at times, it forces you to bond with everyone around you. So, and I had already actually worked with a lot of the crew, so I had a really strong connection to a lot of the crew and a lot of the cast. So it's never easy, but I just like to think of it as you'll probably see them again. Like I've seen a lot of the same people since I filmed. So I don't really think of it as like goodbye, which makes it easier. But especially saying goodbye to JC and all the other dogs and all the trainers was really difficult because, again, we formed such a special bond, and I haven't really had anything similar to it in any other project I've done. It was honestly like having to say goodbye to my own dog, which would obviously be hard. So it was definitely hard, but I'm sure I'll probably work with a lot of the same people again, and hopefully JC.
Yeah, hopefully. So Gil, so they say that in Hollywood to never work with kids and animals, and you had both in this movie. So which was the most difficult to work with?
Gabe has a bad attitude. He's a very angry kid. And I didn't know he's also a professional knife thrower, and has a gambling problem. You know, I have to say, clearly you can get that I'm out of my mind for Gabriel. I mean, I literally, not that I wish I discovered him because he already had a full career before me, but which is annoying. But I don't know. I just kind of felt like I did when I cast Heath Ledger. I thought, oh my God, this is such a smart, talented guy. He just brought me a tremendous amount of joy and pride, and also made me so happy that the words and the thoughts that I was able to write down, or the ideas that I wanted to communicate to him while shooting, his delivery of everything I was constantly stunned by this young man's abilities. It's the truth. As I've said, the dogs were ridiculous. I would hire Sarah tomorrow if I had a movie. But, obviously I form a more powerful connection with a human being. And yeah, it was just a double whammy for me. Felt very lucky every day.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me. Have a good day, guys.
Bye, thank you.
Thanks, Linda Lee. And then our final question is Tessa Smith.
Hi, everyone. Gil, I'm gonna get a little personal here. So you you got divorced, right?
I did.
So why did you change the ending where it's kind of is it just to have a happy ending, or?
That's a fantastic question. I shot 2 endings because what I really wanted was to show that there can be joy after divorce if both parents are on the same page, if both parents genuinely love their children. That is the message I wanted to put out there. Because I have 2 kids and I think they feel very loved by both of us. So I shot both endings because American audiences in general like a happy ending. But I thought I handled both, shouldn't say that, but I believe that I handled both honestly, as not necessarily well, but honestly. And when we first screened the movie for a test audience of like 500 people, just like the big studios do, and I had my choice ending in, which was Josh lived a half a mile away, and he would come over every Sunday for family, and it was a sweet, it really showed that 2 people can get divorced and still be loving of their children, which is the truth. Mm-hmm. And here's the crazy thing. When we tested the movie, no one in the audience realized that they were divorced. The audience was rooting so strongly for them to stay together, they did not understand or see that Josh clearly said, wow, it only took me 20 minutes to get here from my new place. And so the audience they were so on board with wanting them to heal that I thought, how can I not give them what they wanted? So I put the B version in, and the numbers in the test screening jumped considerably. So that's what people wanted. So I wanted to give them what they wanted. The movie's about love, no matter what it is, whether you're under the same roof or not. So it didn't change the context of the movie or the structure of the movie or even the message of the movie. Live your life simply. Have gratitude for everyday things, and your life's going to be better because of it. And I believe that. So that's the answer.
Hey, Sarah.
Hi.
Hi. So you had 3 dogs on set that you were working with. How do you choose which is the main Henry? I know you mentioned that this is our main Henry, but I was just wondering what specifically, what characteristics or skills did this one have that you used most often?
Hi, that's a great question. So when we started training the dogs for the role of Henry, I already had 2 of the Henrys, which was JC and her sister Jovi. And they already worked on a children's TV show called Mutton Stuff for about a year. So, just from having them on that show, JC was just kind of more of the natural. She's like really, really wants to please. Like, I don't know if you can see her right now, but she's really loves people. And she just has that personality where she likes working a lot. Jovi, her sister, is more a little more nervous of some things.
Jovi is really good at doing like action scenes as long as it's like, you know, running and doing things like that. But as far as like, you know, loud noises and stuff, sometimes Jovi gets worried about some things. So JC just naturally has, like, she's not afraid of anything. She loves people. She loves treats. So she has just kind of that, you know, what we look for in a lead dog. She had the characteristics of what, you know, it really entails of, like, you know, doing multiple takes and multiple scenes because she wants to, you know, do a good job, and she likes, you know, making people happy and you know, and also getting treats. So she likes that reinforcement of just saying good job or good girl and getting pats and getting loved on in between. So she really just kind of naturally took the lead role once we started training them all for the movie. And, you know, it just kind of happens. Like every time I've done a project, you always plan to have 3 playing the lead role, and there's always one standout lead dog that ends up taking the you know, doing the most of the film, and it's just kind of interesting how that always happens. And JC just had that natural star power.
Well, she was amazing in the film, and so impressed to see how much emotion we got from the dog on camera. So, you know, thank you. Great answer.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, a lot of that is, you know, it's a combination of the director, the way he directed. Gil was very patient, and the way Gabriel interacted with the dog, and then also the training, you know, and also my other trainers, that, you know, that were on the project with me. It's kind of like a team effort, you know. It's not just us and, you know, the way we train the dog. It's everybody has to collaborate. And, you know, if the director isn't very patient, because it's hard to work with animals in that, you know, in a lead role, because it's like they're kids, you know, their attention spans are shorter, you know, and it's not like dogs or animals they don't have the same motivations as humans, you know. So it takes a really special director like Gil to really be able to shoot an animal movie without becoming impatient, or, you know, if they mess up or if they get tired or whatever, you know, you just have to, you can't make them do anything they don't want to do. And Gil was really, really good about it. He never got, you know, upset. He was very sweet and kind and really, really loved the dogs. So he was a really good fit for this movie. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Next up, Lynette.
Hi. I was wondering, if your dog could talk, JC there, what do you think it would say? Or she would say?
Oh gosh, if she could talk, you know, I think it would just be like a love letter. JC is very sweet, you know, she just wants to be with people. Like, she's good with dogs and people, but she just is like very, like, she gets very bonded to, you know, her person, whether it's her trainer, or obviously she's very bonded to me, but she had another trainer on the set named John, and she got very bonded to John, and she got very bonded to Gabriel. So I think like everything that would come out of her mouth would just be like, I love you. I love you. I mean, as silly as it sounds, it would be like, you're so wonderful. Like everything that would come out of her mouth would be like a compliment and, like, you know, an ego boost, because she's so kind. And, you know, just thinks people, like, she looks at you and it almost looks like she has like hearts in her eyes. You know, she's just that kind of dog. You know, she's very friendly. She's more into being pet with affection than she is motivated for treats. Actually, she's one of those dogs where, like, you know, sometimes we have dogs that are just like all about the food, and she likes treats too, but she's more about being pleasing, you know, her person. So I think that she would just be, you know, like, you're the greatest, you're awesome, you're so, you know, I love you, I want to be with you, I want to hang out with you. That's kind of how I would picture her talking to people. It's just being like a motivational speaker.
I love that. Thank you. We all need that in our life.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for your question.
All right. Thanks. And next up, Amanda.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Amanda.
I was excited to talk to you because I'm all about TikTok. And they said you had, you know, give us the little TikTok tips and all that. And I've done some TikToks with my dog. Now this is the problem I always have, though. Because when I want to get the dog's mouth to move, oh, I had a call. If I want to get the dog's mouth to move, though, what tips do you give for that? Because I've put like peanut butter. And is that bad?
No. Okay. No. I mean, almost every dog loves peanut butter. You know, to get the dog's mouth to move, you know, one of the main tricks we use on set is to teach a dog to bark on cue, which is to speak. You know, so that's, you know, obviously you get the mouth movement. So sometimes you can when you're training this speak, you can also kind of train like a quiet bark. If you're using, I was talking earlier about using like a clicker, and if you click at the moment, like if you're teaching them to bark, like there's a variety of ways to teach them that. You know, I try to get them excited about something, and then when they do like a little sound, you want to reinforce that sound, you know, and build up from that. Sometimes you can, if the dog doesn't tend to bark a lot, you can like knock on the door, you know, and like kind of, and then they're like, and as soon as they bark, you know, you can reinforce that. I try not to use that method, but sometimes you kind of have to, you know, get creative. One time I did train a dog that I had. I don't know if you've ever seen the TV show Dog with a Blog. It was on Disney a while back. But my dog Kuma played the original Stan. And the dog had to talk in the TV show. I actually trained him to open and close his mouth by clicking when he yawned. And he was such a smart dog that for dogs to be able to understand something on command, you have to do it a lot. You know, you have to like repeat it, and for them to go, oh, hey, this is something, you know, I get a treat for, that I get reinforced for. So I actually trained him to open and close his mouth. By when he yawned, I would say yawn, and I would use like a hand cue, and he would open and close his mouth. You know, and it took a while to train that. It's not something that you could like teach them overnight. It takes a lot of patience, and but I was able to train him to open and close his mouth without him actually making a sound. So, which was cool, because then you can like really make it look like they're, you know, talking. That's a little more advanced, but I would say just your go-to would just be teaching them to speak, which is a cue that we use to cue them to bark on command. So I would start with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your question.
Thanks, Amanda. Next up, Carrie.
Hey, Sarah. So obviously you've been working with animals for a really long time. And what's the most enjoyable thing for you about being an animal trainer? Just a moment.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, sorry, it's my phone heard me say, hey, Sarah, and was like, oh, you're saying.
Oh, like Siri?
Yeah.
the most enjoyable thing about being an animal trainer for me is, I mean, I love animals and I know so many of us do. But being an animal trainer is a huge commitment. It's not just a job, it's like a lifestyle. I live on a small ranch and I have, besides dogs, I have a couple cats and horses and a goat and a mini horse and a pig. And a bird. So I just like to be around all animals as much as possible. And, training them to work on set is super challenging because there's so many variables. It's not like training a dog, to sit or down or do, like obedience, like to walk on a leash properly. It's so much more advanced than that. There's a lot of problem solving that comes into training animals for film and television. You always have to be able to think on your feet because you have to be like you have to know how to read animals really well and how they're feeling and thinking at all times. So I think for me, like being the most rewarding thing is like having like learned how to read animals and essentially talk to them, in my own way. I know when a dog is what it's feeling at all times, when it's sad, when it's hungry, when it's tired, when it's, you know what I mean? Like I really know what they're thinking and feeling, and that really helps me be a good trainer on set because I really know how to read, their body language and what they're saying without actually speaking words. So to me, the most rewarding thing is having that, built that skill of really knowing how to communicate with animals and then using that ability to get a really good performance on film, and then seeing that, when I saw, the movie, I loved it. It was really cute and I was really proud of the dogs because, we had some hard, there's always challenges. There was, we were shooting in Louisiana and it was hotter there because of the humidity for the dogs. And so, I had to be really protective of making sure they were always comfortable and kept cool and not overworked. I'm really, really strict about things like that. Just keeping, the interests of the dogs, is my priority. I love my job because, it takes a long time to really become a good animal trainer and to know how to get the best performances out of an animal by really knowing each species and what makes them tick and how to read them. It feels good when you see the finished product and you're like, wow, that looks really good on film. It didn't look like she was looking at her trainers ever, and I'm really proud of that because I don't like watching movies where the dog looks like it's looking at its trainer and taking the cue. That always pains me. I like it to look a little more organic. So thank you. Hopefully I answered your question. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for that.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Carrie. Linda Lee.
Hi.
Hi.
So were some days like, so you had like 3 dogs, and were some of the days when you were filming, like the dogs just didn't cooperate? Like what do you do when that happens?
Hi. Well, that's a good question. Well, we had 3 dogs playing Henry, but I actually brought 10 dogs with me to Louisiana from California. I live in California, and I bought a trailer. Essentially, it's called a toy hauler trailer. I purchased one with an air conditioning just to have the dogs be really comfortable when we were on set, so they had like an air conditioned place to go and rest. So we had 10 dogs with us the whole time we were in Louisiana. We were there for a couple months, and there were definitely times where the dog gets a little bit tired. In that circumstance, again, you can't ever make a dog do something that it doesn't want to do. So, sometimes we would switch Henrys. That's why you have multiple dogs. If one is just, not good at that particular task or scene, then you can always use another one, if that's always an option and why you have to have multiple dogs. But a lot of it comes down to the trainers working the dog and knowing, how to get the best performance out of them. That's what makes an animal trainer, professional animal trainer, is that we know how to get them we know how to motivate them to perform, whether it's bringing our energy up, like if they're, kind of tired, and we kind of use these high, that high baby voice, that we use toward dogs, and get a little more, get a toy that they're really excited about, get, like say, like the dog's kind of tired, sometimes we'll use like what we call hot bait, which is like a hotter form of treats like chicken or steak or something like that. So all of those things are like the tricks of the trade, what we use to motivate dogs on set. And if there ever is a time they're not wanting to do it, then we don't do it. I just tell the director, I'm sorry, the dog needs a rest. And everybody just has to wait, because you can't make them do anything they don't want to do. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
All right, Tessa,
Sorry.
you're up.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
I have 2 dogs myself. I have a pug and a puggle, and sometimes I don't want to say there's a rivalry between them, but if one of them is getting more attention from one of my daughters than the other one, they kind of get upset with each other a little. Now, how would you avoid that with, like, for example, when you have 3 dogs playing, the same dog? Do they ever get not nippy at each other, but kind of like, hey, I want to do this, or not really?
Yeah, I mean, I have multiple dogs too. I have a lot of dogs, and they're working dogs, but they're also my pets. And dogs, just like people, all have different personalities. And for me, like, I have some dogs that are really like mommy oriented, and they get jealous, because dogs can definitely get jealous of each other for sure.
Yeah.
So I think I just like try to be very cognizant of that, and also just with my relationship with my animals, I'm very kind and loving, and I, love to cuddle with them and be affectionate, but I'm also very strict. And I also like have that relationship where if somebody is doing a behavior that's undesirable, and I say, hey, leave it, or knock it off, or no, they know, what I mean? Like I have that established, kind of like parent relationship with my animals, So, I think in that circumstance, when I deal with like somebody's being jealous, I just, I try to distinguish that. Extinguish that before it gets into something that may escalate. Whether it's putting a dog, I don't know. I utilize crate training, so all of my dogs are trained to, sleep in crates or travel in crates if necessary. Sometimes I use those as a tool. or somebody's getting upset, like a lot of the time I have conflicts with like a certain toy, if somebody like wants the toy, and if they're getting too possessive of the toy, I take it and I remove it, I take it away. So I guess that's kind of how I would approach things in the moment, is just, I have to be really careful because I have 16 dogs and they all go together. And that's like a very large, a lot of people, with multiple dogs don't really keep that many who can all kind of go together at once. It's like a giant dog park, and you don't ever want something to turn into like a fight with that many dogs involved, because it would be really bad. So I try to, have, like I said, being able to read the dog and knowing if somebody's getting jealous, then, you may want to just not, you want to extinguish that before it gets too out of control. Maybe if the dog's in your lap, set it down on the floor, you know what I mean? And just be like, hey, fine, nobody gets attention. That kind of thing, Hopefully that answers your question. So
yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.
This is our main Henry, played by JC. Can you say hi? Very good. She's so excited. She actually, behind the scenes secret, she's so excited to be working today because she's had a little bit of time off since we shot the film. So she's pretty stoked about, she saw the bait bag that I'm wearing and she knew it was acting time. So today I just kind of thought it would be fun to show you a couple maybe of her tricks that she did in the film. Also, I was gonna show you guys some behind the scenes tools that the animal trainers use when we're on set. And you can actually make your own tools at home. And I thought it would be really cool to challenge everybody who has a dog, and hopefully most of us have dogs, to actually do like a TikTok video and use the hashtag #ThinkLikeADog. I thought it'd be really fun to, I'll give you some tips on like how to do some training with your dog at home, some easy stuff. And like do like what you think your dog would like, if you could think like a dog, what your dog would see, or maybe something along the lines of, you're bored in the house, and you're stuck in your quarantine, and something like with your dog being bored or something funny like that. So I just thought it would be a cute idea to do. So anyway, I just wanted to show you some of, I guess we'll show you some of JC's fun tricks that she likes to do to get her warmed up. So one of the tools that we use, of course, when we are training dogs on set we use lots of snacks. So this is their craft services. It's also a bait bag or a treat bag, and that is what we use to motivate them. Actors are motivated by the art or sometimes the money, but animals are motivated by love and praise and treats, lots of treats. As Gil and Gabe know, we went through lots of treats on set. So one of the things we do is anytime they're doing the correct behavior, we give them a snack. So it's all positive. There's no yelling at the dog. There's no negativity. It's all like you get a treat and you reinforce what you want them to do. One of the tools we use to train dogs on set is a clicker. You can buy a clicker. I'm going to give her a snack because she's waiting for it. You can buy a clicker at any pet store. It's a really, really cool tool. It's like a Pavlovian thing where basically, like when you're training a dog to do something, like I'll show you how I use it. So let's say you're training a dog to lay down on cue. So I'm going to take this treat and I'm going to lure her into the position. Sit down. And the moment her body lays down or does the behavior you're asking them to do, you're going to click the clicker, and that basically tells them, that's right. And then you follow it up with a treat. That's how you teach them to do something over and over. So
that's how Gabe taught me.
Exactly. That's how you train directors too.
Yeah.
So
Bill also needed lots of love and affection and treats.
Exactly. Those are the best ways to train anybody or any animal. So, so let me show you some of the things she knows. So, JC, come, sit. Good. High five. Good girl. Stay. High five. Good. So how you would train your dog to do that at home is basically you could either lift their paw and give them a treat and repeat that several times, or sometimes when you scratch them under the chin, they automatically kind of like will lift their paw a little. The second that paw lifts up, whatever one you're asking them for, she's like, what do you want me to do? The second that paw lifts up, you want to click, and then you want to give them that treat. And you always want to make sure you give them that treat immediately after they hear that clicking sound, so that they know they did the right thing. It's almost like taking a still photo of a dog, and it clicks in their brain of like, oh, cool, I did the right thing. So that way they know to repeat that behavior. One of the things you can do for your TikTok videos, if you're going to do one at home, is say you're trying to make a dog look bored. Let me see if I could do it up here. So down, lay down. We probably don't have enough room up here, but you can actually lure the dog over without falling off. So I don't want her to fall off the table, but you can lure the dog over with a treat to make them look like they're sleeping. Believe it or not, like say when we're on set, the dogs aren't really sleeping on set with a crew full of 200 people. So we lure them over and we train them to sleep and to relax. And you can do that by luring them over to their side. If you're doing a TikTok video at home, you can actually, if you want to do it the really easy way, you can film your dog actually sleeping. And then one of the things I like to do is like do like a zoom in, toward their eyeball, and then like show what would your dog be dreaming about or thinking about, or what would your dog say if you could think like a dog. Some of the other tools we use on set, she really wants this one. So say you're on set and you need a dog, you physically can't be somewhere, so you can buy a back scratcher, believe it or not, pretty much anywhere. She smells it. So you take a big old hunk of meat, this is how we train them, and your dog obviously is gonna look at it and sit. I don't want her to fall off, but anyway, there you go, good job. So one of the ways you could teach them to look at something, say like sometimes we want the dog to, a lot of the time we want the dog to look at an actor, of course, and not look at the trainer, or look in a corner of a room where we can't physically be because there's something there. You could take a treat at home like chicken or steak or something really delicious. We call it a high value treat. And you put the meat on the end of the stick, and as soon as they look at it, good, you pay them from that, and you teach them to watch it or to look. That's the cue we give to dogs when we're on set. If we want them to sit, JC, watch me. Good, I know, you know how to speak. That's another really fun behavior you could teach a dog. So how we get a dog to bark on cue, we call it speak. JC, good. Say you get them excited about something, say there's like a toy and they're really excited about it, and as soon as they bark, you, JC, how about, good girl. As soon as they bark, you want to give them either the toy that they want, or you want to give them a treat and reinforce that. And you repeat that enough times, you start to call it speak after they do it a couple of times. And then this little thing that I'm doing here is a lot of the time most of the time we're on set, there's dialogue, the actors are talking, so you're not always able to actually say the word speak or down or stay or sit. So we do a lot of hand signals. We teach the dog. So without me having to say anything, if I'm across the room and I need her to bark, then we have these little hand signals like down. So we simultaneously teach the dog how to do verbal commands and also nonverbal commands, so hand cues. So if you're doing another really cool behind the scenes trick is you want your dog to look like really excited, or oops, my earpiece fell out. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that, guys. 2 minutes. Okay. Say you want your dog to look really, really excited. You could take a squeaky out of a toy and obviously they're going to be like, whoa, what's that? And that's something we use on set a lot to get like certain emotional reactions. So like a dog's supposed to look really excited. We'll have like little whistles and little squeakers, little things to give that emotional reaction from dogs so that they, whatever the scene calls for, they emote that behavior. Like if you want your dog to look sad, obviously on set, we can't ever frighten a dog or do something to make it actually sad. So we teach them something called like a head down. I don't know if you could see her head down. She's a little in an awkward position, but this cue means to lower her head. And we teach them that, and that makes them look sad. So there's a lot of super cool tricks you can teach dogs at home. Believe it or not, there's a lot of awesome tutorials on YouTube. Like if you want to go, how do I teach my dog to high five, or how do I teach my dog to lower its head? You can actually Google search that on YouTube, and there's all these amazing tutorials that'll teach you how to train your dogs at home, and then you could do really cool videos, and you can be just like me, be an animal trainer. I think that's everything. Does anyone have any questions?
Can I say one thing, Sarah?
You can, yes, of course.
I have been lucky enough, to have worked with a number of different trainers and different companies and animals. And not to embarrass you, I have never worked with a company that can get a dog to connect so closely to an actor. And when you guys see this film, I don't know if you've seen it or not yet, but you'll be very surprised at how you believe the dog is communicating with Gabriel. And that comes from the way Sarah and her team give the dog so much love for months before training, months before shooting. And they spend so much time, loving time with these dogs that they implicitly trust them. So you don't get any of that skittish, like the dog's like this and the dog's like that and the dog's like this. I mean, when you see the film, you will see, I believe, a surprisingly powerful connection between Gabriel and Henry in the film. And also part of what they did with that, because to make that, and again, I've never seen this either, the instant Gabriel showed up for rehearsals, the instant they showed up, bam, they put Gabriel together with Henry and asked Gabriel, and he was terrific, literally any free moment Gabriel had for the first month, he was just hanging out with Henry. And that bond and that trust was, the performance from Henry is dramatically different than anything I've seen in a dog movie before. I'm really proud of it. And thank you for that, Sarah. That's pretty incredible.
Oh, thank you, Gil. Yeah. Yes, thank you so much for saying that. I did see the movie, by the way. I just wanted to let you know. And I watched it twice and loved it. And I totally saw exactly what you were talking about. The connection between Gabriel and Henry was unbelievably beautiful. Yeah, I mean, definitely made me cry a couple times.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Because of Gabriel's bad performance, you mean? Yeah. That was disturbing. But Henry was great. Henry was great. Sarah, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I hope you guys appreciate it. Yes.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. And like I said, Think Like a Dog is out today, June 9th. You can get it on Blu-ray, you can get it on DVD, and you can get it on digital. So be sure to check it out. It's a family fun movie that your whole family is really sure to enjoy. I'm Tessa Smith, and this has been The Mama's Geeky Show.